Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from Volquest.com, it's Grant Ramey, the man in black. Grant, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Always. I'm so in my head about it. Got to dress in black every time I come on this podcast, but it's not really a change of pace for me because that's just what I do every other day too. So it's cool.
Grant, it's been a couple weeks. I talked to Go Vols 247's Ben McKee last week. It's something that us bald brothers have to address with you, Grant Ramey. It's something that I saw immediately on Twitter a few weeks back.
Listen, I love Ben McKee. That's my guy. He's got a beautiful bald head. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I didn't mean to do him dirty. I know where you're going with this. I didn't mean it.
That's what you're sticking to? Didn't mean to?
I'm sticking to. I didn't mean it. I'm balding myself. Why do you think? Why you've never seen me without a hat on, right? Because I'm bald.
Come on.
It's receding. I promise you.
Come on.
I promise you.
That's saying this to a bald brother over here. Like, just you got a ways to go here, Grant Ramey.
That's why noted hater Mike Wilson of the New Sentinel tells me I have a 5 head, not a 4 head, because my hairline is rapidly receding backwards. So that's why the hat's always on. I did not mean to do Ben dirty. I love Ben McKee. He's got a beautiful bald head. He has nothing to be ashamed of, even if there's a picture of it on Twitter.
Goodness.
And it was like 1 a.m, so what's it matter?
Here's what I'll tell you, Grant Ramey. I saw it and I was like, oh, Grant, out of nowhere. Grant, just like, what's Grant doing? What is Grant stirring up here? Like, what is this? I wanted to immediately reach out to Ben and be like, Ben, I don't stand for this. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what was happening here, but I can't stand for it. Like, it was something like, do we need to address it all together on the pod? Does Grant not understand the plight of us bald brothers? I don't know. I didn't know.
You guys have nothing to be ashamed of. You guys are actually fortunate because you can pull off the bald head. I cannot pull off the bald head. At some point, I'm going to get.
Wait, so what are you going to do? If you're receding, like what's happening here?
Right. I mean, my father, bald head, receding hairline. My brother, bald head, receding hairline. Like, at some point, I got to get rid of the hair. It's going to happen. I don't know if I can pull off a bald head. So you guys are actually fortunate that you've been able to go all the way and it's done with. It's over with. You don't got to worry about that. You're good. You're actually lucky. You're the lucky guys. Y'all should be proud. Let's bring it out in the light. Something to be proud of.
I will say the worst is being in the middle.
That's
bald
me.
Or full hair, balding. You're not balding though.
You're balding. I promise you, I'm balding.
I don't know. It's pretty slow.
I promise you.
We got some time here, Grant Ramey. I don't know. I think you've got some time. I feel like Costanza, where he does with the guy who shaves his head and he like does some looks around his scalp. He's like, you got like a year left. He did like the months, and that's what I feel like we're doing here with Grant over here. It's like, it looks like you got a little bit of runway. Just enjoy this year, young man. Enjoy it.
Enjoy the time you got left.
Exactly. And don't watch Braves baseball right now because it's pretty brutal.
Oh boy, no. I actually paid for the FanDuel network or whatever because we have an Amazon Prime subscription, like every American, I assume, does at this point.
Yeah.
I think I've turned them on for maybe 10 minutes. I didn't pay for it before they got off the West Coast trip because I just don't want to watch them get swept by the Dodgers and play the way they did against the Padres. And I was working that weekend anyway, so it's been it's gross. They've got some I don't know what's the saying. They got some chickens coming home to roost by not addressing roster needs the way they've needed to address roster needs.
And Acuna's not back here you still got 30-ish plus games here, and Strider will be back. Knoxville's King will be back on the mound here sooner rather than later, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I keep up the one saving grace is going to Fangraphs.com and looking at playoff odds, and the Braves still have like a 80% playoff odds even after the 1-8 start. 8% World Series championship odds. I think it's second in the NL still. It's pretty wild.
The stat that everybody was pulling around, like no team that started 0-7 or 0-7 has gone to the playoffs. Well, how many teams have gone to the playoffs that have had a 7-game losing streak at some point during the season?
Yeah.
Probably a billion, and probably multiple World Series champions that at some point had a 7-game losing. I mean, the 2021 Braves that won the World Series title, they were very average during the regular season. Yeah. And then they went on a run in October like a lot of teams do in Major League Baseball. So it's all, everybody's going to panic because it's time to panic because that's what we do as sports fans, but it'll probably be fine.
And expansion, right? Like there's more playoff teams now. Like, so it's just
That's
kind of
true.
different because
That's true.
more teams are getting in. So we shall see, Grant Ramey. But we are going to talk a lot of Tennessee basketball here, even with the national championship ending last night and the team that Tennessee, actually on both sides, Tennessee women's and men's programs beat the national champions this year in their respective leagues. And it's over. But, and this is something I'm actually kind of writing about this morning on Barnes and Company, Grant, is that, look, there's no real time here. You just kind of have to quickly turn the page. It's like Zakai's just gone, ostensibly. Jemai, Jordan Gainey, and Chaz are all just gone for different reasons. And you're going to have to, you don't get to like just reminisce. It's kind of like beating Kentucky and then losing to Houston within 48 hours of each other. You don't really get time to like soak it all in and enjoy what was a big moment. And you're like, nope, we're going to have the first year in a while where Tennessee's not going to have a 4-year guy within the program. Like this is a situation next year where you could have 5 transfer starters. And I think a lot of fans will be like, whoa, that's just a lot of transfer heavy stuff. It's like, hey, Florida just started 4 transfers of their 5 here and just won a national title. And no 5 stars, I think I saw in the Final Four or in the national championship game, I think is the stat I saw. And I know we'll get to Nate Ament here in a second, but I mean, it's going to be really weird. There's just no way around it, where it was weird for a little bit not to have Santiago Vescovi and Josiah Jordan-James around this early part of this past year. And it's going to be even weirder not having, I think, Zakai and Jemai, but it's just, there's no way around it. Like next year is going to be really, really different.
Very different. I was poking around in Lexington when everybody was trying to figure out what Rick was going to do moving forward. And like, you think this guy's coming back? Like, you think he's acting like he's going to be back? And the person I was talking to said, yeah, I think he's going to be back. But at the same time, it's going to feel so much different because Zakai and Jemai might be the last 4-year guys that he'll ever coach at Tennessee. Like, is he going to be here if Cade Phillips is here through his senior year, or JP Estrella or whoever? Is he going to be here for another 4-year player? And it's probably, I don't know. He could do this for 5 or 6 more years. Who knows? I have no idea. When he's going to hang it up or what. He kind of addressed it that he's all in, and it feels like he's all in based on how they're recruiting. But it is going to feel different because that was a big chunk of his Tennessee basketball head coaching career was Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak and those guys. And he's lost the Santis and the Josiahs and the Fulkeys and those types in the past, but he's had those 4-year guys still around in Jemai and Zakai. So it's going to feel different, but at the same time, you're right. That's what college basketball is right now. I remember, and it feels like I'm talking about 100 years ago, but the first 2 years under Rick where they missed the tournament, I would go to campus and have like a sit down with Rick, and it's kind of like an exit interview of the season, and you kind of reflect, and then you kind of look forward to whoever's going to get here in May, the class that you have signed and all this stuff. And it's like there's a little bit of a breathing period where you could just kind of let it breathe a little bit. And now it's just like, nope. Like if you're not recruiting, like Rick said, he said, we're recruiting. This was before the Sweet 16 game. He said, we're recruiting like we're out of the tournament, but we're not out of the tournament. And that's what you got to do. Like you got to be setting up portal stuff while you're still alive, while you're still playing, so you don't get behind. I mean, Florida went on a huge run, wins a national championship. That's going to be huge for them. It's also, I would probably be feeling a little bit behind because you're trying to get caught up on whatever your roster is going to look like next year. Same thing for Houston and these Final Four teams. It's just so sudden. Like April is absolute crazy insanity, free agency everywhere, and you're trying to rebuild your roster every single year.
Yeah. But it's also fun. And it's also kind of rejuvenating, where there's no way Tennessee basketball is not extremely interesting next year, at the very least, where I think there's a path, and this is how we can lead into this conversation. I think with Gillespie and Carey, who was more of a surprise, I think, than anything, like a pleasant surprise as of right now. But you look at it and you're like, oh, there is a path. If Tennessee can land the plane here with a couple more guys, like there's a path to Tennessee being better and at the very least deeper than this past year's team. And because I think you and I would probably agree that like this year Barnes got every ounce possible out of this group, and they were super thin, and he Elite Eight, back-to-back Elite Eight. It was really, really impressive based on everything. over the course of the year, winning 30 games with this group. Talented, but thin. And I think next year's team, the way it's shaping up, I think it's going to be the deepest that Barnes has had in a while. Like a lot of new faces, but I think it's going to be deep. And I think you're going to probably have more scholarship guys than what you had this past year. And look, I mean, you're replacing some guys, but Cade will be in year 3. JP will be in year 3. Felix Akpara will be in year 2, but also his third year, or fourth, third for Felix, right?
Correct.
Third
No,
overall.
he'll be a senior, right?
Okay, so he will
he
be.
not? I think
Is he
2 years at
2 year
Ohio
Ohio State?
State and then 2 years here. I think that's correct.
Okay. Bishop Boswell will be back. We'll see. I mean, he's like you talk about like if this will be his last 4-year guy. I don't think so, because I guess it comes down to this year, right? Because if Barnes' team this year, Grant, is really good and an Elite 8 Final Four type team, I think it's still just going to be too much where you come back. Because I think a lot of these guys, like if the 5-year rule passes, Gillespie could be back. Like there's a couple guys we'll see, like JP Estrella, obviously, Felix Akpara. You look around the list, like there are several guys, Cade, who would be a year 4 guy. Like if you're really good this year, I think there's a path to having several 4-year guys again in total at Tennessee. But again, you got to land the plane here over the next month, and it's going to be a crazy next month here. But I think with Carey and Gillespie in the boat, that's a really, really good start. We'll see with if Rice comes in this weekend and if they can close there, his teammate at Maryland. I mean, what do you make of just that combination to start things off, and that Tennessee might, like, they're on a path where things could be really good if fans are really nervous about the post-Sakai Jemai world?
Love the addition of Jacoby Gillespie. Love how that worked out, where it's a Greenville kid, it's an in-state kid, East Tennessee kid who is transferring for good reason at Maryland because his coach left. It's not like he's just wasn't content or hasn't been content. He went to Belmont. He earned a bigger opportunity. He went to Maryland. He earned him. He played up to the hype, up to the expectations, all that stuff. I had one Maryland fan reply to me on Twitter when he committed here that, like, man, we hate to lose this kid. Like, he's a good one. Like, you don't really hear that kind of positivity from an opposing fan base once you've left that team. But I think that speaks to Jacoby and the impression he made on Maryland. So I think that's a huge starting point because of what you're losing in Zakai. And you had to have an answer at point guard, and to get somebody that's experienced at the Power 4 level, whatever it is now, Power 5, Power 4, that's huge. Jaylen Carey, I'm not surprised that Tennessee coaches were impressed by him because he wore Tennessee out in those 2 games. I think he had 17-7-3 or something, 18-7-3, and then maybe 14-10 in those 2 games against Tennessee, and he fouled out in Knoxville. And with what we've seen with Rick, with forwards that know how to score it, he's done good work with those kind of guys. A little bit, not the tallest guy. Well, I think he's maybe 6'8" or something, but he's 245. He's big, he's strong, and he knows what to do with the basketball. And when you add him, I wouldn't take him if it means I'm going to lose Felix or I'm going to lose JP or I'm going to lose Cade. I hope they work that out on the front end. Like, we're bringing this guy in, but we want everybody back intact. We want this post back intact. I think he's trying to build a little bit of what we've seen with Florida, where they just have so many bigs to throw at you. So I love that addition right there. The big question is, can they close on Rodney Rice? Like you said, is that the 2 guard, the shooting guard that they can add? And then the wings too. They need more guys. So obviously on this roster, they got more spots to fill. But it's off to a really good start. Losing Isaac McNeely to start with to Louisville, that hurt. But to respond the way they have, I think they've made 2 really good additions, and they've got some other guys on the board that they like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gillespie is a 40% shooter. I think you're going to look – it's going to be different where look, I kind of wonder about the fit with Akpara and Gillespie a little bit more, because I just think he's just a natural – I don't want – loser's too harsh in terms of the post-Sakai world, but I think he really benefited from his relationship. His chemistry is probably a better way of describing it with Sakai. Like their rim running ability and just how comfortable they are with screen navigation and everything else. They were just naturally a great pick and roll fit, and just were naturally, they just worked. I don't think Gillespie and Akpara is as seamless of a fit with one another, but I do think the spacing on next year's team with Gillespie, and like you said, if you can close with Rice, and we'll see what they do at the 3 spot, you just look around. I mean, Carey can stretch the floor a little bit more than what Tennessee has had at that 4 spot. I mean, he's not the shooter that Igor was, but I think, and it's something that you brought up, I think is important, is that Florida and Houston and other good, like Barnes clearly wants to he wants to build out from the bigs out, right? I think
Mhm.
Barnes would rather have 5 to 6 guys he can trust inside or throw and rotate who get in foul trouble. And he's like, all right, he was kind of strapped last year where it was just like, if
Right.
some guys didn't have it, or if Cade was not locked in, it was like, okay, well, this can get dicey in a hurry because I just don't have a lot of options here. We're going to have to go small. It worked with Jemiah at the 4 a lot, but I don't think you wanted to live in that as much as Barnes and his team had to this past year. I think he wants to be more like 2 years ago, where you could have Tobe and Adu on the court together at times. You could have Jemai and Adu on the court together at times. You could have a lot of variety, and then you play your guards a bunch of minutes. Like, I think Gillespie's going to play 36 minutes a game. I think if Rice is in the boat, he's playing 36 minutes. Like, I think you're going to see the same high volume of minutes for the backcourt and the same kind of heavy rotation and blend. And I think that's to kind of lead to my next question here. When you're thinking about the big rotation next year, potentially, if let's operate on the assumption that Okpara, Cade, and JP are all back, I think people might overthink this, or they're like, oh, how are you going to keep that many people happy? I think they're going to rotate enough that Barnes will be able to keep those guys happy because that's what he prefers to do. I think I'd be more worried if they overstock the guards backcourt or wing department because I just don't think Barnes will rotate there. I mean, you just saw Bishop Boswell couldn't get on the floor this past year, and Brady Leone 2 years ago couldn't get on the floor really. I think it's a lot harder to earn Barnes' trust and get opportunities in the backcourt than it is in the front court. And I think you're going to see Barnes experiment a lot of different options at the big lineup. And I think you shouldn't overthink adding Carey if you're like, oh, how does this affect everybody else? Because I think it's a healthy rotation, right?
I agree. That is where he's more prone to rotate. And you think about Rick Barnes basketball, they want to defend, they want to rebound, and they want to play inside out. They want to throw it down in the post and start their offense there and go from there. And that's why I like that addition. We'll see how they all fit together and which guys kind of play better with each other or what they look like, on the floor starting, I guess, in the summertime. But the JP thing is very interesting to me. Very interested to see what he looks like, how quickly he can develop, and because we haven't seen much of him. I mean, he was sparing minutes as a freshman, and then made it to November before the foot issue. And the foot issue was a thing all summer, and it kept him out a lot all summer going into this season. So very interested to see his development, what his split looks like with Felix. I would just go 50-50 if I could, if you could get away with that. If both of them are playing well enough, maybe one guy takes it over, who knows? But yeah, I think they're going to rotate there more. I mean, I think to keep guys happy, just tell them to look at Florida and how many bigs they throw in there. And if you're winning games, everybody's good. Like, they want to do that. And I think that's part of it. Like, they've established a culture, well established a long time ago. And it feels like, those guys are bought into that. We were talking to Cade in the locker room after the Houston game, JP as well, just about the culture and the future and all this stuff that they had kind of, they've been here 2 years. They've been to 2 Elite Eights. Like, they know it's about winning basketball games and playing the right way and all that stuff. So it feels like foundation wise, they've got a really good start down there. And I think adding Jaylen to that helps you because of that rotation, how much they want to rotate. It should be, I don't know. It's a very interesting ad. It wasn't somebody that I expected them to go after. I thought maybe more of a stretch 4, and maybe they still go after a stretch kind of guy there for the 3 and the 4 or something like that. I don't know what their thought is moving forward, but once he entered the portal, it was kind of surprising to me that Tennessee went after him. But based on what we saw in person a couple of times, I'm not all that surprised, I should say.
It also might depend on this next question I have for you. Like, Gillespie, and mentioning Nate Ament by name, you have Troy Henderson, who played with him the AAU circuit, who's true freshman point guard coming in, and it felt like it was over, right? Like, the commitment date was set. It felt like it was a Louisville Duke battle, and he pushes it back, and then Gillespie shouts him out, and Tennessee has been playing the long game here. It's not like Tennessee's not added 5-star guys like Nate Ament here in the Rick Barnes era. It's just been a couple of years now. And they haven't had the need. I shouldn't even say need, because I guess it actually is a need. Let's just go ahead and say this is a need at the wing spot this year. And I kind of wrote it off, where we've been talking about like, oh, Braden Berries or somebody else here is a more realistic possibility. But it's interesting that Ament might be back in the fold here. I mean, what do you make of where things stand right now with Nate Ament in Tennessee?
I agree that it felt like the ship had sailed weeks ago, a long time ago. It felt like I think he has a top 5 or something like that. Was the last time he cut down his list. It felt like Tennessee might be 5th on that list back then, but it feels like for whatever reason there's been a push to get back into it, and I think Tennessee is very much all in on that recruitment. I think Tennessee's willing to pay whatever the price is going to be. I don't think the money part of it is going to be the deciding factor. I think Louisville is kind of out of it, or at least fading. It feels like Tennessee and Duke, which I'm skeptical about, because it just feels like Tennessee doesn't usually win that kind of battle. Like, no offense, like it's just that's a tough customer to recruit against. I think with Nate, you can sell him on just the insane usage rate that he would have at Tennessee, and how much is going to rely on somebody like him stepping in here and being a Dalton Connect or Chaz Lanier in terms of productions and number of shots and all that stuff and minutes he's going to play. I think Rick is in love with his game, and that's why Tennessee is making a pretty hard push here to get back into it. And I think Duke, there might be some legit concern from Duke's side of it. Like, Tennessee might be a threat here. So I think it might be down to those guys. I don't know. It's very interesting. And I think it might come down to as simple as, like, here's the board of guys that we could get out of the portal. Would you want to go after these guys, or would you want to go all in on Nate Ament? Like, how do you want to spend your money? I guess you should say, how do you want to budget this thing?
Because you can't get Freeman and Ament. Like, it's just, you're not getting both. It's probably a one or the other situation.
You think so? Well, I don't know. It might be. You might be right on that. I feel like he might be a little bit more of a kind of like a Jordan Gainey a little bit, where you step in and you have a pretty big role your first year, but you progress and take a much bigger step your second year. I don't know, and maybe that's just me being naive.
You also have Amari Evans in the fold here, and he seems like a more ready to play freshman than they've had in recent years. I feel like he, of the last two, would be the most ready. Or to contribute.
Physically, it looks like he's got the body for it, and I think he's got the mentality for it based on stuff you've seen from the overtime, the elite league that he played in, and some of the clips where, and he's talked about defense too and all that stuff. He's a very typical Rick Barnes kind of guard that you'd expect him to bring into. So yeah, you gotta kind of insert him into the mix a little bit, but I don't know. Whatever's happened, whatever's changed, they're all in on Nate Ament. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see how that one. I don't think there's a very hard timetable in place. Like, he's going to do some stuff and whatever, and then we'll see what happens. But it's going to be very interesting to watch, because it feels like Tennessee's kind of pushed their chips in here and going for it.
You mentioned McNeely, who they don't like. That was kind of the first name we heard, right? And then it just kind of a stunner that he ends up at Louisville. Could it end up being a blessing in disguise if you're able to go Rodney Rice and the teammate of Gillespie here? That, it kind of was a tough blow out of the gate. But you look at it and you're like, okay, I mean, if you can get Gillespie, Rice, and then even Ament, who, like, again, like, he's now recruiting for you, Gillespie is, and stuff like that. Could it end up being one of those where, it was a gut punch early, but Rice and Gillespie might be the better combo here and may pay bigger dividends for Tennessee?
Yeah, I was looking at Rice's numbers earlier. I mean, he made 83s this season. I think he averaged close to 15 in Big Ten play. That's a good league. He scored 23, I think, at Indiana. He scored 28, I think, in non-conference play. He scored 26, maybe against Illinois in the Big Ten tournament. So he's had some really big performances. That was a high-level Maryland basketball team that won a lot of games, that played the right way. That there's talent around him. I think there will be talent around him at Tennessee if he ends up here. So I think you could look at that as a blessing in disguise. It's nice that the guy that you went after the hardest to start with, Jacoby Gillespie, had that guy in the backcourt with him. And there's a coaching change at Maryland. So Tennessee could take advantage of that and bring two guys that I think they were roommates at Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. So they're obviously pretty close, and I think they both want to play together. Then let them keep going at it and add that kind of player. If you can add that kind of production, that's exactly what Tennessee needs to fill that spot for sure.
Final thing here, Grant. He's kind of the forgotten guy of next year's team, but he felt more like a Barnes guy than DeLeon did in Bishop Boswell. We didn't see enough to I think the defense could be there, right? Like, I think he has the body. He was a football player in high school, kind of in that Cade mold. He's kind of like the Cade guard for Tennessee. He feels like someone who could be a multi-year guy for Tennessee, who can develop into a solid role player. But it's also like, I just don't know what he is offensively. Like, he didn't really get any run. Like, you kind of saw Freddie try, and it didn't really work on offense a little bit, and the defensive issues. But you saw some stuff offensively from Freddie. Like, you didn't really get an opportunity with Z and everybody commanding the ball the way they did to really understand what Bishop could ultimately be here. What do you think Bishop's role might be next year? Is it an expanded role? Is it something where it's still just like a multi-year play? Like we'll see on who they all end up adding. Like Bishop's just kind of a huge question mark still to me because super talented guy. I just don't know. I really have no idea what he is yet.
Somebody actually asked me on our message board the other day, point guard, shooting guard, or combo guard for Bishop. And I guess combo because, I mean, you look at the roster construction as it is and kind of who they're trying to add and what it might look like, what it might end up looking like. But regardless, Bishop, he's going to have to back up Gillespie at point guard. But he's also going to have to play off the ball as well because they're completely rebuilding the backcourt. Like you're going to need guys that have been here, been in the system for a minute to kind of give you some of that depth and some of that production and all that stuff. Somebody you can lean on, somebody you could trust on the floor. So I think it's got to be a little bit of both. I think he's got to have some versatility. Defensively, I think he's kind of locked in there, and I think he'll play the game the way Rick wants it to play. I think the buy-in is there. With Freddie, it just kind of never worked out, kind of never matched up. But I think it still could with Bishop. But that's the question that everybody's trying to figure out, especially on the outside looking in, is kind of what is Bishop and what does he project to be? You need those multi-year guys. You need those guys that are going to stick around and develop in the program and kind of to sprinkle in with the portal guys and the freshmen and all that stuff. But it's just figuring out what he is. If he can be a guy that can handle the ball in a secondary role behind Gillespie, and if he can be a guy that can play off the bench in the backcourt off the ball as well, I think that adds huge value to what he can do down the road. But it's like we've been talking about. They just don't rotate a bunch at the guard, and you just didn't get to see him much as a freshman. And it's easy to write him off, and people are probably wondering what he is, just like we are, and if it's going to work out and all that stuff, especially in this day and age. If you're not playing, you just expect guys to transfer. But I think he could stick it out, and we'll see what he looks like moving forward. But it's going to have to be – you're going to have to get to the point where you find some answers about what he's going to be sooner rather than later if it's going to work out here.
I mean, Cade was a huge unknown after year one, and then he had circumstances forced him into playing a lot of five, and I mean he was huge for Tennessee in some games this season, and it was kind of like I don't know if he's gonna be a keeper, and then it's like no, Cade's a keeper after this year, and I think you could see the same kind of thing with so much turnover in the backcourt that maybe Bishop shines a little bit by being in the system a little bit, and like his versatility and being super switchable on D, that he carves out a niche, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, he's a culture guy that we need, that is going to fit, and he's going to play. Maybe not, he's not going to be Zakai playing 35 minutes a night and being our league guy, but if he's okay with it being that kind of 20-ish minute culture setter and playing valuable minutes and maybe even a closer depending on how things go over the next couple of years, because there are surprising closers, like just because Barnes starts a certain way doesn't mean that's how he's going to finish games, and it's an equal opportunity system under Barnes, that like the best guys will play, the guys Barnes trusts will play, and I don't know. I think it's what makes it fun, right? Like we don't know what Bishop Boswell is going to be, but
I've always kind of explained it like Rick is going to be as bought into you as you are bought into him and the system, like and the culture and all that stuff. Like the amount that you put into it, Rick is going to put into you, and he's going to match that. And if you're checked out, then he's going to check out. But to your point about Cade, like what we learned about Cade as a sophomore was like you put him in, he's going to do something. Like he's going to tap some balls loose. He's going to crash the glass. He's going to play defense. He's going to block some shots. He's going to catch some lobs, stuff like that. Like you knew what you were getting when Cade entered the game. Like you were going to get some of that energy, and he was going to change some things. I think we have to get to that point with Bishop. Like if you check in, he's going to take care of the ball, or is he going to turn it over? Is he going to play defense? Can he be a guy that you put on the perimeter and you can trust defensively, and maybe he could be known for something like that? Or is he going to be a guy that can play off the ball, take care of the ball, stuff like that? So we got to find those answers, kind of like the way we did with Cade, where it got to the point where Cade checked in the game, you kind of knew what was coming. Can we get to the point where Bishop Boswell checks in and you can kind of trust and know what's going to happen next based on what you've seen from him, if he can do it consistently, I guess.
Grant Ramey, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Volquest.com this week?
I'm going into hiding for the next 3-4 months. No, I'm just kidding. It's Tennessee baseball season always until, I guess, June. That's kind of the tradition now. Yep. They just kind of keep playing all the way through until Omaha. So that's never a boring day on that baseball beat, even though it's not really my problem. That's Eric Kane's problem, but I might have to pitch in for a little bit for him down the road here. So all that stuff, obviously, it's crazy portal season. It's free agency. It's trying to figure out who's coming in on visits and who's realistic, and what the native Mint sweepstakes are going to look like, and all all that stuff. And even, Rodney Rice, Nate Ament, all those names are kind of out there now. They still have to add more guys after that because they got a lot of slots to fill. So it's never boring. You can't really take it easy until they have a full roster and everybody on the coaching staff's coming back. And, it's just never like it's like mid-May before it's like, okay, we can start thinking about next season now.
But it's fun. It's a fun time. And
it's job security. That's what it is. It's job security.
That is true. It is a year-round production here at the University of Tennessee.
Unless you're bad at your job and tweet pictures of bald guys at 2:00 in the morning in Rupp Arena.
Well, it wasn't a Volquest guy. It was so you were safe there. Now, if you'd done it to somebody else at Volquest, then it's a little. But
Volquest alumni, Ben McKee, Volquest alumni.
A Volquest alum. That's true.
That was 247 alum on Volquest alum crime.
At least you're admitting it now here at the end of the program. It took 30 minutes, but we got Grant to finally get there and admit that what he did.
There's a beautiful bald head. Ben McKee, you got a beautiful bald head.
I'm clipping that. Grant Ramey, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you again very soon.
See ya.
All right, we're here now with a first-timer head football coach of the Coalfield Yellow Jackets. We've got Benson Napier with the beard. It's summertime, Benson. Or is it time to trim, cut it up for the heat, or are you keeping this thing going?
I keep it going pretty much year round.
Okay.
I'll trim it up at some point this summer, right before the season gets rolling, and then probably won't touch it again till after the year. I mean, if we lose one, I may trim it up then, but pretty much I'm superstitious. Wear the same thing every Friday if we're winning, and keep the beard going. Don't touch it as long as we're winning. So as long as we're having a good year, once it gets trimmed up this summer, it won't be touched again.
Have you always been a superstitious coach?
I have.
Yeah.
I like to stick to the same routine as long as we're winning, keep everything the same. So I don't know if it plays a part in winning or not, but I like to feel like it does.
What's your game day routine that you follow strictly?
Get up, get my kids ready, bring them to school. At 2:00, I always make sure I leave one of the iPads we use at home. 2:00, I'll run home, grab the iPad, stop by the Marathon gas station right by my house, grab a triple shot Starbucks coffee drink, a Coke, and a pack of gum, and head down to the field house, and then stay down here, get on the bus if we're traveling. If it's at home, be down here until it's game time. That's a lot of caffeine. You're doing the Dan Campbell Detroit Lions thing right here. Yeah, Fridays I do intake a lot of caffeine during the season. Probably shouldn't, but it's one of those that Fridays I feel like it helps, keeps me ready to go.
What's the best part of the Coalfield Friday game day experience for you?
I think it's just the support from the community. It's one of those, every kid in the school, it's one of the things we make sure students get in free here. The support from the kids in the school, because it's kids from kindergarten all the way to seniors in high school. I mean, you're in the same building. And then just the community coming out and supporting everybody, filling the stands each Friday night. It's just one of those, it's a special thing being at a small school and in a place like Coalfield that gives you all the support you could have. It's incredible to witness on Fridays our community come together all for one cause.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll also go ahead and tell you, I'm a little biased here, Benson, but Coalfield's uniforms, top notch. Like Coalfield, when you go up and down the best uniforms here in East Tennessee, you've got the right idea. You've got that. How involved are you in these elite uniforms that Coalfield is rolling out week in, week out?
Well, this year, we got brand new ones, white and black. So I sat there and copied it off of what North Carolina State does. They done it a couple years ago with Adidas. I thought it looked really good. The one thing on our black ones, I wish we could have done a little more white on the shoulder, but FHS rules say you can't have that contrast or whatever. But the white pants, we hadn't worn them since I think 2015. We brought them back this year. I think it looks good. And then we got the white helmet skins for the playoffs. And I don't know the last day. It's been mid-2000s since we had wore a white helmet at Coalfield. So it's one of those, check. The assistant coaches liked it. Kids loved it. So, we decided we're going to mix it up a little bit. I like to keep it pretty simple myself. At home, wear all black. On the road, white with black pants. That's what we did when I played. But kids like it. It does look very good. So It's one of those that deal with it. And this day and age, sometimes it helps to look good.
100%, 100%. It's the off season here. We're taping this in early April. What's been different for you as a head football coach this off season at Coalfield?
Really nothing different from last year. Keeping workouts the same. We got a fourth block group that lifts during the day that's mainly baseball players that aren't getting to lift after school. Then we, instead of running our workouts right after school, we've pushed them back to 4:30 so our strength coach could be here. Getting great turnout with that. And that's always one of those you're worried about it because our kids are going to be able to leave after school and get back. But kids have done a great job showing up to work. Getting ready to start spring practice up in a couple weeks. That's something that last year we brought back. The first couple years I was here, we really didn't have a spring practice because at a small school, your kids are playing everything. Numbers weren't great during the spring because we had so many guys playing baseball. So looking forward to going into spring practice. But again, it's going to be limited numbers, but I think it helps just getting stuff installed, just going through the basics of everything, technique and stuff like that, helping keep kids focused and ready to go.
I like that. When you look back at last year, obviously a super successful season for the Yellow Jackets, Benson, but what was the biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle that your team faced in your estimation?
Probably the biggest obstacle we faced was just numbers. I mean, it's one of those that I felt like we had a lot of depth last year, but that's relying on freshmen and sophomores to have to play a lot. But really, it's one of those at a small school, you're always going to deal like that. And I say numbers. We had 36 kids on our roster, which is really good when we're the fourth smallest school in the state that plays football. So, I mean, it's one of those are really good numbers, but just trying to keep kids fresh, keep kids healthy, and dealing with losing a kid here and there and having to change things completely it keeps it interesting, keeps it fun. But I thought we did a very good job handling that. We lost our starting middle linebacker halfway through the year towards ACL. And at small schools, when you lose a kid, you got to move a kid from here to fill that spot, but then you got to move maybe a safety down to outside linebacker to fill it, and you got to plug somebody else in there. So it's a lot of plug and match and getting kids to adapt and learn at different spots. And my defensive coordinator, Matt Jones, did a fantastic job of that, getting us adjusted, and we played really well defensively, even though we lost our leading tackler halfway through the season. But it's just one of those that probably staying healthy is the biggest obstacle we face.
What about quarterback? I mean, how are you feeling about going into this offseason with a new quarterback under center? Where are things at there?
Got a lot of trust in Jack. He got to play a lot last year. We know his arm strength and arm talent is off the charts, so we know he's very capable of making the plays through the air for us. It's hard to replace a guy like Luke that has started for 2 years for us, and he played 25% of our varsity snaps his sophomore year. So, I mean, he was a guy that had a lot of experience, knew exactly what we were doing offensively, and he was a team player. He didn't care what he wanted to win, and he was going to do whatever it took to win games. And so that's hard to replace. I feel very confident in Jack. Jack can make any throw we need him to make. He's going to know what to do with the football, and he's going to make some big time plays. The challenge with it, and it's the same problem we've had with Cole Hines. We had it with Luke. They're baseball guys, so they're not at spring practice. So Jack's going to be playing baseball, and we're not going to have our quarterback for spring practice. So that's one of those things that, again, you deal with. We're going to roll with it. I know his future's more than likely in college baseball, like Luke's was, like Cole's was, where there's going to be times in the summer they need to be going and playing baseball somewhere, and they're not going to be at a workout or a practice. And we deal with that, but I got all the faith in the world in Jack. Excited to see the year he could have at quarterback.
Is that helpful for a lot of quarterbacks? You talk about kind of this baseball pipeline at the position for you. Does it add a different element of ability for your quarterbacks to be two-sport guys in baseball and football?
I think what it really helps is they're very good if they have to move around and throw. So if, we do give up some pressure and they got to flood the pocket, or, they're scrambling around, they can make throws from different arm angles. They're still scanning the field, able to throw back across their body. And it's just when you're doing it in baseball all the time, you can do it in football too. It's a natural thing for you, and it's not uncomfortable. So it's one of those that I think it helps us, especially in our, kind of rollout passing game. It helps them because they're used to making throws on the move, and it's a good thing to have because they got arm talent.
I think it was Oliver Springs where he had just an absolute 50-yard bomb into the end zone. Was it fourth down that he pulled that off? Do you know what I'm talking about off the top of your head?
Was it the game in the regular season there?
Yeah, I think it was the regular season game.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about where he rolled around and then off his back foot threw one up deep, and our tight end ended up wide open, caught it for a touchdown. Yeah, and I mean it's one of those that you become used to moving around, throwing a football or throwing a baseball, and it translates onto the football field. So it's a good thing when your quarterback can make throws like that.
Yeah, it was wild. I encourage folks to go back because that might have been a rivalry Thursday game. Was that
It was.
Yeah, you want to go back and see it. It's one of the best high school football plays of the last year here in East Tennessee. I'm curious. So if you could tell yourself, knowing how the 2024 season here went, Benson, what would you tell yourself? One thing you can go back and tell them in week 1 that you found out later on.
Knowing how it went, just keep playing no matter what, and our kids do a great job of that. We're going to compete for 48 minutes. It doesn't matter what it is, what the score is. We're competing for 48 minutes, and that's what I tell our kids. Don't get down in bad moments or when things go against you. Keep fighting, keep playing as hard as you can play, and if we do that, good things are going to happen. And I think it showed in our playoff win in the quarterfinals against the team down the road. Not giving up. Things look bad early. We didn't score in the first half. Then you're down by 1 with 2 minutes to go, and we turned the ball over on fourth down. But our kids kept fighting, made a play when they had to make a play. So it'd just be pretty much going back and saying that, hey, there's going to be points of the season where things don't look that great. Keep fighting and keep playing hard.
You only go down once in the regular season here, and we'll get to South Pittsburgh in a second. What happened in that one regular season game against the Indians that tripped y'all up a little bit?
We had to move it to a Saturday as the week the hurricanes hit and all the floods happened. So we moved it to a Saturday. It was a defensive battle. I mean, the way the conditions were, it wasn't going to be a night for teams to put up a ton of points. Two good football teams that went at it. I think Sequatchie made the play or semifinals in 4A. So it was, or in 3A, I guess. I think they got beat by Alcoa. But it was a very good football game, defensive battle. Made a decision. We were at our own 30, had it 4th and 2 with about 7 minutes to go in the ball game, tied up 14-14. Sat there and thought, these conditions are not an offensive person's interest. So we punted it back to them. They ended up running the clock out, kicking a field goal with no time left. Looking back, I would go for it on 4th and 2. Normally, that is, I like to try to be aggressive. Normally, I would have. Conditions-wise, I tried to make the smart decision and came back to get us a little bit because we didn't get the ball back. But just one of those, that very good game, two good teams going at it. They came out on top.
What was the biggest difference between how that game went and how South Pittsburgh went in the playoffs?
South Pittsburgh, we didn't execute when we had chances versus South Pittsburgh. We start off the game, starting running back, ran for 1,500 yards. He goes down second play of the game. So we lose him. Hayden Hedrick, our backup running back, came in. He had a great year. Probably should have got him some more carries. He came in, ran the ball incredibly hard, had a really good game against them. But we got down in the semifinals, fell down 3-0. We missed a screen pass with about 2 minutes to go in the half that would have either popped for a touchdown or got us a first down. We'd have, worst case, went into the half down 3-0. We don't convert on it, punt it to them. They hit a big pass play, go in 10-0 at the half. We come out, get down inside, I think, the 25 on our first drive of the third quarter, down 10-0. Don't convert on 4th and 2. In the first half, we missed a field goal, had another drive down inside the 20 we didn't score on. We just missed our opportunities, and it came down to execution. We didn't execute moments we really needed to execute against South Pitt, and their kids made plays when they needed to make the plays, and that ended up being the difference in the ball game.
By and large, though, great season. South Pittsburgh, it's a tough loss, but by and large, just another great year for you. What was your favorite part of winning double-digit games again at Coalfield?
Honestly, my favorite part was just being around the kids every day. The mentality, the attitude they had. we had a very good, very special group of seniors who were committed to winning. They were going to do whatever it took to winning. And I will say Mason Smith, our offensive tackle, nose guard, he had an unbelievable offseason. I mean, he had his best offseason, and he got after it. And he carried us up. Us, at the nose guard spot, commanding double teams every week. But his attitude of he was going to bust his tail and do whatever he had to do to win. Kyle Wright came back home to us. He had been at McMinn Central. They moved back here to Coalfield. And just he was another kid that do whatever he had to do to win. Luke Treese, he went from, I think he had over 200 pass attempts as a junior to around 170-ish last year, roughly off the top of my head. But he took a back seat and didn't get to throw the ball as much as he had been, but he was okay with it because it was going to win us games. Levi Heidel was another kid that could have started both sides for any team in the region, was okay with playing just safety for us and being a leader on defense, getting us right, communicating, getting everybody in the right spot, and just showing up and busting his tail to win games, doing whatever he had to do. Eli Justice was another kid that way that had played running back up until this past year. He was our outside linebacker and tight end, and he didn't get as many touches as he could have got if he'd have been a receiver or running back. But he was okay with getting down, doing the dirty work, blocking on offense, and had an incredible year. Was defensive player of the year in our region. But just doing whatever we had to do to win games. They had a great mentality, a great attitude about them. They were great leaders. And that was fun to be around because you knew you weren't worried about kids getting upset because they're not getting to do this or they're not getting to do this. They showed up ready to go to work every day to do whatever we had to do to win. And that was my favorite part about that group last year.
I love that. What's the biggest spring summer position battle for the Yellow Jackets right now?
We need an offensive lineman to step up. Feel pretty good about we bring back 3 starters. Have another kid, Eli Burris, who played a lot for us last year up front, rotated in, that I think he's going to take another step forward and hold down one. But really on the offensive line, we got a spot we got to fill, and I'm excited to see these linemen. They're busting their tail in the weight room. They're going to benefit a lot from this spring because that's pretty much what we got. We got a few skill guys, but mainly it's linemen. And I'm excited to see who steps up to win that spot. And as an offensive lineman myself, that I love that stuff. So I'm excited to see who really has a good spring, summer, and then in scrimmages this fall, see who's going to make that step forward to win that spot.
Is that hard as just a former Tennessee guard and being an interior guy, Benson, to be in the head spot where you're like your eyes just go to offensive line play, where you're like, there's every other position, but like just because of that, just being your natural position, that's just where your eyes go is the trenches?
Well, up until this past year, I'd coached the offensive line. So I was the head coach, but I was the O-line coach too. This past year, I let Braden Burgess, who had played for us at Coalfield, I let him take it over and coach it. This upcoming year, I'm going to be back to coaching the O-line. Braden has had a couple different opportunities to go be a student assistant at either, just a couple different colleges. And I think he's going to pursue that, which is an awesome experience and opportunity for him. So I'm going to be back to mainly focused on the O-line. That's what I'm going to be looking to see. But, at the end of the day, you win and lose games up front. If you can control the line of scrimmage, you're going to be very successful. And naturally, that's what I'm looking for anyway. But definitely we'll be back to mainly focused on our O-line play this year.
Awesome. Do you like the new seating coming into the TSSAA this fall?
I do. I was a big fan of them changing up how the playoffs work. I mean, it's one of those that we play the same teams over and over. Our region is one of the toughest regions in single A football. So most of the time we're taking at least 3 out of 4 from region 1. So you're getting rematches in the second round. I mean, 2 years ago, we played Rockwood the last game of the regular season, had 1 week off in the first round of the playoffs. You played somebody else, and then we played again in the second round.
Yeah.
So I like getting it mixed up a little bit. I'm going to miss getting to see the team down the road twice in a 5-week span because that is an awesome environment, awesome rivalry. It's what small town football is supposed to be. So that kind of sucks. You're not going to get to see them twice that quick. But now if you do get to see them, it means the game's going to be worth a lot more in the semifinals. Yeah. So it's one of those that I'm a big fan of it. It really benefits you to win your region now in terms of travel because now in the second round, you're making a 2.5-hour trip somewhere where before you were probably hosting the number 14 from our region in the second round.
All right, non-football as we get you out of here, Benson. It's around spring break time. You can go anywhere you want to go. No, money is no object. Where's Benson Napier going for spring break this year?
Honestly, I'd have probably just went and took my kids out west to see the Braves play at San Diego and LA.
Well, it's good you didn't do that this year, Benson, because it's not been going well.
That would have been a rough experience. Would have sucked to see the losses, but it's one of those that probably. I mean, that's probably what I would have done personally. I know my wife and kids, they'd have been saying, "Oh no, let's go here, let's go here." They'd have wanted to go to the Bahamas or somewhere like that. But it's one of those that I've said when I retire, I'd love to go see the Braves play at every MLB stadium. So if money wasn't an object, I'd have went ahead and made that trip out west.
There you go. Do you know how many stadiums you've seen him at already, or you don't have a count yet?
I've only saw him in Atlanta right now.
Oh, you got a ways to go here, Benson. Yeah, we got a ways to go.
Yeah. Well, see, most of the time with it, I mean, during the fall, with football, I can't go see them pretty much outside of Atlanta, or on the dead period, you get a little chance. But typically, that's when we're going on vacation, and I'm getting outvoted on going to watch baseball versus going to relax at the beach, which I don't blame my family on that. But so it's one of those that go down, catch them in Atlanta a couple times a year, and outside of that, I want to go see them in Cincinnati whenever they're there because that's an easy trip. But outside of that, it's not been too far to see them.
I love it. Benson, how can the good folks support everything you've got going on with your program at Coalfield this spring and summer?
Just reach out to us, and we take any support we can get. It takes everybody to help do this in a small town. So reach out to us, see anything we need, or just let the kids know, hey, we're pulling for you. Keep working hard. It pays off for you. Just really stuff like that.
I love it. Well, good luck this spring and summer, Benson, and we'll have to check back in again when the season gets closer.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.